Welcome back to the
Yay.
City of Philomath Admin and Finance, or Finance and Administrative Committee.
Technical difficulty, but
Part two, yeah. July 8th, 2025 at 1:04.
nice. Oh,
Yeah. Oh,
that was odd.
you got some.
Are we being hacked? We're good.
Okay, I think we're good.
Um, So, okay, yeah, no, I mean, this is it's a very good discussion. I'm not sure what the right solution is. I think the way it comes across to me, and probably the reason that we have this sort of hobbled system that we have right now is like it is very context dependent on both sides. I feel like I could see like I think there are times when having the council have to like choose their favorites in an open meeting and everything is a horrible idea. And then there's also times when having the mayor just pick his friends is a horrible idea. So I'm not sure what the right solution is there. Um, but I guess on that note, do we still have this on the council agenda for Monday to talk about?
No, I
No,
didn't.
okay. Then that works. We don't have to figure anything out today. I guess just in general, to like rewind the discussion a little bit, are we all okay with just sort of, regardless of how we do the structure and everything, okay with streamlining some of the code language about committees to have it more accurately reflect what we're actually doing now?
Yeah, in fact, part of what I was gonna suggest is that we, as a committee, just make an endorsement of the idea of
Okay,
doing
yeah,
these things and
Yeah.
think, as far as the Finance and Administrative Committee goes, we're in favor of taking a look at this and making them
yeah, okay,
uniform and even perhaps open to the idea of including items that other committees used to do that aren't getting looked at anymore or whatever, like
yeah.
including the idea of changing slightly the scope of what we do here to make sure that the city's
Yeah,
covered.
I guess, because I know we have another topic for today too, but just would you feel comfortable maybe if like Chris and I worked on sort of a recommendation for how to tweak some of the committees and we could bring that back to a future meeting for just that if I always feel like it's easier to work off of some like to give feedback off of a proposal rather than to like come up with it in an hour-long meeting, but yeah.
Now, how would that work with regards to the meetings that the committees that we're thinking may be absorbed into other existing committees, like the transportation? How would that, are you thinking about keeping that as a separate committee still, or having that being absorbed into police?
I think there would be a lot of absorbing and merging and everything.
Okay.
I think what makes the most sense to me is, again, if the council's or the committee is okay with it, if Chris and I can kind of put our heads together and come up with some proposals of what that would look like, bring it back here, get changes, feedback, and then take that to the council, which includes all the members of every standing committee. So then, I think we definitely want feedback from like the police committee on that.
Right.
But I would rather give them a proposal to give feedback on them, like, hey, how do you feel about maybe merging with some other committee? Like what do you mean?
I think that's a good idea to get it fine tuned it a bit.
Yeah, okay.
Formalize it.
Yeah, I like the idea of you guys creating a framework that
Okay.
for potential changes.
Okay. I guess then the only other question I had was just like, are there any things that and Chris, maybe you can like, I don't even know what the Board of Adjustment, we don't have that, do we? Okay. And like the local
I was
contract.
trying to be very comprehensive.
Yeah.
From like, here's all the ones we've had. Some of these were approved by resolution.
Right.
Some of them were
okay.
just more ad hoc. They just didn't necessarily
Right.
call them ad hoc.
Right,
They were
right.
formed and no longer needed. I know the Transportation Committee was really big in 2005, 2006, I think, leading up to the couplet.
Right.
It was a very active, and it was large. It had ODOT representatives, Benton County representatives. I mean, it was a powerful committee. It was a vote well attended. They had big topics they were talking through with the highway and how things were going to go. So but then once a couple got done, it was like, okay, it's here, and then,
Right,
the
right.
need for it kind of dropped off a little bit. Not that we didn't still need traffic and safety to discuss, but
Right,
it's
okay.
kind of
It doesn't
police
need-
committee or.
yeah.
I guess the one that stands out to me that I'm not quite sure what to do with, and is the Historic Resources Commission, which does currently exist in the city code. So I guess the question, and I just haven't done anything with it in like 15 or more years. I don't
We've
know.
just not had a lot of interest.
Yeah. So I guess that one might be nice to get some feedback from the committee. Like, do we even want to do that? Like, should we just take it out of the code? Like, we could merge it with like this committee or with something else, or we could keep it, but like, that one, like, cause obviously like traffic safety can kind of get merged with like police and, public safety. And I feel like, tree advisory board already is kind of merged with public works, like that kind of stuff goes together more naturally. But the historic resources one was the one where I was like, no. Because it's not really public works. It could be. It's not really finance and administration. It could be.
Yeah, because it's kind of.
I mean, unless if we like, because I mean, you could like merge it with like a parks board or something. But like, I feel like the kind of people that are interested in being on the parks board are not necessarily the same people who are interested in historic resources, but
Well, under the power, sorry, I didn't mean to.
no, please.
Under where it says powers and duties of the commission.
Yeah.
I was just talks a lot about the planning commission and.
Right, sure, yeah,
So
merging it with that.
maybe, or even having that be a part of agenda to address during meetings, during planning. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
I don't know. I just don't know if it's, and then another one I had is ordinance committee. Do
Yeah,
we have an ordinance committee okay.
it's one of the ones that's in the code somewhere.
Yeah, and I'm just not sure. So that one's off to me as far.
It used to be a fourth committee made up of 3 city council members, similar to police and public works, and finance admin. We had an ordinance committee. Anytime an ordinance was drafted, that they reviewed it, went through it, went to legal. But really, any of those ordinances are either coming from legal, or that it's a draft that's coming from somewhere else that I'm reviewing and
Right.
legal's gonna review. And, we don't really need 3 city council members sitting around drafting language for an ordinance. It's typically done by the attorneys anymore.
Yeah,
So that one went away
Yeah.
before I got here.
So it's still on the
years before I got
list though, but.
I think it's in the code
It's in the
still,
code.
so that's one of the ones I think we might just leave. But yeah, the sense I get from the ordinance committee is it was one of those ones that was like, maybe back before we had as much staff, or back before, like,
Maybe.
I don't know, that one feels especially a little silly to me, because it's like clearly every ordinance has to go to the city, like, I feel like the city council is basically the ordinance committee. Cause like there are decisions that like we can make as committees, there are certain decisions that each committee can make without, the full council approving, but ordinances are like, well, by default, the whole council has to approve them, so.
But I just consider this a chance to really clean things up
Totally,
appropriately.
yeah,
To
yeah,
really
yeah.
make, instead of just kind of band-aiding everything,
Right.
it would be nice to take it and really make it
Yeah,
effective to what we're addressing now. And
Yeah.
I kind of suggest that in the memo, that really it's even looking at like the headings, right? Like,
Yeah.
to stand out, like, what is the purpose of this committee?
right.
What are the responsibilities?
Yes.
What's how's it formed, right?
Right.
So I think we could standardize those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like every committee that you
Yeah.
put to in code has
It should
membership.
look the same, right? Or
Yeah.
essentially the same, maybe a little.
I agree.
longer, Shorter.
I agree.
So I can definitely fix that. I think I've heard you on maybe the specifically parks and tree advisory board to change the language there, so it's the council that's making those approvals and not the city,
Not the
the mayor that's making appointments with approval of the council. So we can change that language, make it similar or exactly the same as the other committees. So we can bring that back
That's
as
the side I'd
well.
err on. I think that's the side I would err on too. I don't know that I out loud said that, but I think I agree with Counselor Nielsen that in general, and also awkward decisions are better from a group. You know? it takes the mayor out of the position of at
Right,
some
picking
point having
favorites.
said, well, why, so-and-so applied, why weren't they the right candidate for you? And
I think the
Yeah.
only caveat is just given the city charter, I think the mayor still needs to appoint.
Yeah.
But then the council appoint members of like the citizen committees. Does that
Yeah.
work? Okay.
I think that works, or even the council, I mean, if we wanted to be really standard, the council we could kind of set it up so the mayor goes through and just approves or appoints all the council approved candidates is like
That's true, like a ceremonial appointment.
yeah, kind of when, like you're.
That's, I mean, we could just put something in the rules of the council saying like the mayor will appoint
Who the
members to
council,
the committee approved by the council or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that, I mean, the only concern there was it could turn it, if you don't say that, then there is like a mayoral veto.
Well, it does say elsewhere in the charter that the mayor shall have no veto.
Okay, well, there you go. So that would be the only thing is you could be like, well, I'm currently electing not to sign, but
Again, my experience is that most of the time, the mayors have done a great job of outreaching to the
Right.
counselors, talking about concerns. When new counselors come on, they kind of, it's like, oh, here's what in fact, the charter says that if it's midterm and somebody
Then you just take it
leaves,
over,
you just
yeah.
take over whatever was there. But we've done a pretty good job where about every year the mayors take a good look. It's like, okay, what's working well, maybe it's not working well, who's maybe getting burnt out, or maybe their schedule's changed and they're not as available. So we're gonna take one of the committees away and have them do some, do a little bit less, or somebody else has got more capacity or in a different interest. So I think mayors have done good there. There's only been a couple of times where that's been even not controversial, but even been questioned, like, well, I really wanted this committee and the mayor didn't put me on that committee and I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's happened once in the 12 years that I've been here. So I think the mayors usually do a good job. And at the end of the day, you got 3+ committees plus all the liaisons, and you may not get everything that you want.
Yeah.
And so, but for everybody to try to get to an agreement on all of that, I think would be maybe an impossible
I guess-
task. So.
Just really quick, if you can't, I guess the way I understood what you were saying, Spencer, more was like the mayor, we'd still do what we do now for the council committee. You were saying for like the citizen committees.
yeah,
Just say like the council will select them and then the mayor will appoint the people selected by the council. But I don't think that's just sort of a semantic.
more
thing.
summary.
Yeah.
But then it's the consistent language.
Sure. So we can deal with that later. but-
No, is there something in the code about, what I've liked in the last couple of years is a chance to put a preference of standing committees, which ones when they
Yeah,
rate
sure.
these 1 to 6, which
yeah.
ones because I have a chance to say, these are my interests and this is where I feel I can make a difference. Is there anything in the code that requires the mayor to have that sort of outreach?
The language, I
Regards-
believe, is that the mayor,
I think it's
the
like,
mayor shall consult with, or the mayor shall,
I think it says like shall appoint, I think it's like after this ... I think it says the mayor shall appoint the committees provided by the rules of the council after consultation and consent of
Yeah.
the members affected.
but it is consultation and consent of
Yeah.
the members, right? So
Yeah.
if you're adamant, I do not want to be on the police committee, I think you could raise that issue when the mayor says, here's what I'd like to do. You could say, I do not want to be on the police committee, I don't consent.
Right.
And all the rules of the council, I'm not consenting, and you could say.
Although,
And the manner of consultation is up to the mayor then,
Yeah,
how they do it. Okay,
which I think is fine.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I just wasn't wondering if that was in there or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't say specifically, but it just says like, the mayor can't just sit at home and come up with this on their own.
Go out and let.
Yeah, right,
here's
yeah.
your assignment, go team, go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's not uncommon, I mean, behind the curtain, it's not uncommon for me to have a conversation with the mayor and talk about pros and cons and strengths and weaknesses. We try not, just so logistically, we try not to put 3 new city council members all on one committee.
Right.
It's like, well, this person's been on the council for a couple of years, so let's make sure that, this person's new. Let's put them with somebody, a group that's already working well and has got some experience already. So there's some logistical things where I make some recommendations with the mayor, whoever that might be. But at the end of the day, we're looking at what committees do they want to be on, and let's, go through that process first. And then if that all makes sense and we're not concerned about having all new people on a committee or something like that, then it's great. Sometimes it's scheduling. If we know people are never available during the day because they have full-time jobs, and you got 2 council members that are always available during the day, prefer to meet at 3 o'clock, and you've got one that can never do that, why create a conflict where we don't need one, right? If they're open to that. So
Here, it's on this second page here, so it's at the first regular meeting of each calendar year or as soon as practicable thereafter, the mayor shall, after consultation with and consent of the members affected, appoint the members of the council to the council standing committees and evenly assign representative responsibilities to the council members. So,
I like that. That's actually.
So I am fine as a finance council member, having the 2 of you work together to kind of
okay,
get a rough draft of coming up with some consistency and
Do we want a motion around that or anything, or just not until, yeah.
direction. It's not
yeah, I
gonna-
think,
We just want to get this item in front of you.
yeah.
And then obviously if you think of specific things over the next few weeks that you want to kick to, but I don't think there's anything huge hurry on this, other than the mayor always wants to get things done quicker than slower.
Good.
But I think we'll bring recommendations back to this committee if you're okay with that. Mayor.
Totally, yeah.
I'll get
Yeah.
something written up, we'll talk through it, and then we'll bring it back to this committee, talk through it, and then that could be a recommendation to this committee.
Council, yeah.
Yeah, and what you guys have outlined is representative of the things that I find important.
Okay.
I think fairness and equity and just making sure that each position is
Yeah,
equal and appointed using whatever the same
yeah,
standard is.
Yeah.
You know?
okay. And I
And I
think,
think that's what you were saying as well.
right. And I think to Chris's point, it's not like we are getting hundreds. Like, I think if we
Yeah.
ever get to the point where we have hundreds of applications for some committee, then maybe
yay.
we should have.
Well, yeah, we had a line where staff and
Right,
then
yeah,
their vet, a
yeah,
certain
yeah, yeah,
number
yeah.
would
Yeah,
present
but I
a
know
number of
it's like-
candidates. but-
Thus far, we're lucky if we have too many applications for one committee.
Yes.
So,
Well,
okay,
and I do remember this year when we were doing it, we did, a couple of people
Right.
didn't get it, and we said, hey,
Right.
that we do have these other,
Right.
similar to like you were talking about, that you and Chad have done, it's like.
yeah, just like, hey, you want to do this?
Yeah, so actually, like, we have 2 kind of real qualified members for
Yeah.
this, and
Yeah.
like, it's kind of their jam, but we could use help here.
Yeah,
Or-
totally.
Yeah, and I think, I agree, having them there in that interaction, or, having one of the counselors say, well, I've recommended him because
Yeah,
he's my neighbor and I've watched him be a good citizen, and,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
part of what makes Paloma special, I think. And-
well, and that's
I
might
don't
be a separate, just to your, I was thinking as you were talking, something instead of like, I totally agree, I'd like having people come and share. I also feel like we haven't actually had very much of that recently.
No, we can,
We've been doing a lot of approval of written applications, and so I would be interested in emphasizing that more a little bit of like, hey, if you applied, please plan to attend council meeting on this date, so the council can just, have a quick chat with you and talk about your interests or something. And maybe, if they're on a cruise and can't make it, they can't make it, but just, because I think some people don't even really know that that's,
Right.
an expectation right now, so,
That's true.
yeah.
I agree with that as well, and it affects my it does
Right,
kind of
right.
affect my decision making. If you weren't at the meeting where we were talking
Right,
about it, I feel maybe less.
And I think
Confident.
especially with these kind of forms that people fill out, like, it's sometimes hard to know, like maybe someone wrote 10 paragraphs about all their amazing experience, but maybe someone else didn't, they thought they were only supposed to write what fit in the little box on the website, so they only wrote 3 sentences, and it's like, are we gonna hold them again, so I agree, it's good to kind of give people a chance to elaborate.
Well, and or somebody might be able to speak
Right.
several
yeah.
paragraphs about their experience, but not maybe so much write it.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
all right. Well, are we ready to move on to talk about the OPEC or
OGEC,
OGEC?
Sounds
Chris's
so,
favorite.
OPEC is this.
Chris, do you wanna give us an overview of that?
Yeah, so most of this is coming from our city attorney, based on a recent decision or opinion letter that came out from Oregon Ethics Commission. I will tell you that this has ebbed and flowed over the years, depending on who's in what position at the Oregon Ethics Commission. So it's not like this is brand new, earth shattering. It's just that this is maybe the most extreme, somebody at this high up of a position has had this opinion on ethics, but it all relates to, things that council members and employees receive as a benefit of their elected position, which the Oregon Ethics Code very clearly states that you shall not receive any compensation that's not included in a compensation package just because of your elected office, right? Like just because you're the mayor doesn't mean you can walk into Eats and Treats and get a free dinner every Friday night, right?
Oh.
Like that would be
Was that an option?
it would be a benefit that you get that no other resident gets to
Right,
get, but
right.
you get it. Why? Because you're the mayor, and the mayor gets a free meal, right? So those types of things aren't allowed, right? Ethically, you shouldn't be benefiting from your elected position financially. You may be the most popular person in town, but as long as financially it doesn't impact you, then that's okay. Popularity is okay. Financial gain is not. And so what they're looking at, and this is moving a little bit, but more than likely what will happen is we'll need to go to the city council with some resolutions that, the out is if it's part of your official compensation package. So if you are a member of the city council, here are the things that you may be provided. Meals prior to meetings, a gift during the holiday season, a mug, a sweatshirt, or whatever, right? Infrequent payment for training opportunities or travel expenses or whatever. So if we just need to generate a list of compensation that has a financial value to it that you may get if you are a elected official. Similarly, if you're an employee of the city of Philomath, we have a personnel handbook, and it lists several formal benefits that are given. We will probably need to add to that things like travel expenses, reimbursements, training opportunities, meals prior to meetings or at meetings. We've got in there a little bit, but pretty more clear about retirement gifts and that kind of stuff, right? Or birthday presents, we do gift cards or whatever else. So any of those types of things just need to be very clearly delineated in the benefit package. And so what will be coming to the council is going to be a resolution. I'm going to say a resolution now, and then I'll explain the bills you read in there on multiple. But it'll be a resolution that says, this is an update to the benefit package for elected officials and city employees, and we'll list everything out there. The trick is, as an elected official, you can't vote on something that's going to benefit yourself because you have conflict of interest, right? You have an actual financial
Like literally to
interest.
get something out of it, yeah.
And so the attorneys are pretty smart. The way
pizza.
around it
I know,
is,
this is great.
if there's six of us, the three of you vote on improvements for these four, and the three of them vote for improvements for those three, and the six of you vote for improvements or for benefits to the mayor. And so, you find a way to make it work so you're not voting on a benefit to yourself, you're voting on a benefit for other council members. And then in turn, although not agreed upon ahead of time, those comes for you. So there's a workaround a little bit.
That would be
to
so
keep it
funny if we
ethical.
only passed like one of them.
Right.
It's like
You
only,
only-
yeah, Teresa, Rich, and Jessica.
See?
Or you guys should just pass the ones and then not pass the one.
Yeah, the mayor. It's just Spartan, you don't,
Yeah.
you get for your extra authority.
There's the other part in the memo that draw your attention to is whether those things have some type of tax benefit or tax consequence or not. Again, we don't give tax advice. The city attorney is not going to give you personal tax advice. Some things are de minimis, right? So that free meal is so minor. Typically, your tax advisor is going to advise you that you don't need to report those things. Any cash value, cash cards, a check, an actual cash reimbursement, those things typically are. So your tax accountant will typically say if it's any type of cash card, whatever, it doesn't matter if it's $5 or $300. Those you'll need to want to report typically. Again, not giving advice, but
I don't.
Typically, that's what you're going to hear.
I don't anticipate we would be receiving any of those.
No. Which is why we intentionally don't give like gift card or
Right,
like cash cards at Christmas and stuff. do that for that intended purpose. We give a gift that has some value, but it's de minimis because it's whatever, peanut brittle that I make from home, or whatever.
Right.
And if you haven't been able to receive my end of my peanut brittle, then you're something to look forward to for next year.
It's pretty good.
I would, yeah, noted. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the other part of this.
Right,
Right there, the wordage out there. And what's not in the memo, I don't believe, I don't get to the very, very end of it, is the legislation, the state legislature is going to take this issue up next year. They are going to be very, very clear. The legislature doesn't like unelected bodies making rules. They like to make the rules. And so more than likely, they will look at rules with input from League of Oregon Cities, League of Oregon Counties. They will be looking at some rules here for public officials, elected and appointed officials, and public employees that will be in line with the ethics code, but provide a little bit more clear guidance here. So this is a little bit of a stopgap until we've got some clear legislation. Until we have some clear legislation that gives better guidance, which will probably happen as early as next year. So I anticipate that coming. I don't know that we'll bring that resolution back to this committee. We'll probably go right to the city council with it because it's going to be pretty much in lockstep with what the attorney is doing in other communities, and they'll recommend the same resolution for us.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's it. So any questions? Yeah.
So if I'm reading the whole taxable piece, right, like anything of what we currently get from the city would probably fall in. It's like,
Typically,
meals furnished on business premises or, occasional parties. Like, I feel like that's all we get right now anyway.
Right.
So, okay.
Occasional training, maybe but training is.
Well, that doesn't even feel like, I guess that's one question. I like training and conferences, that doesn't feel like compensation. It feels like an obligation of office.
Right.
Man, I feel like you going to a meeting in Portland, that's not like a fun perk of your job.
No,
It's
but
like,
I'm also going to a conference in Tampa this year, right?
Right.
And so it's like,
But, like, you're not going-
training is whatever, but it's not vacation. It's like a training, but while
It
I'm
is.
there, there's some things I'm doing in Tampa that I wouldn't be able to do in Portland.
I guess, I don't know. That one just feels like.
For me, but I have that in my contract, right?
Right,
My contract
right.
says that
Sure.
the city shall pay for my continuing
Right.
education at conferences like ICMA. And
Yeah.
it happens. So it's, again, some people that work for the ethics commission like to hold their nose a little bit higher than everybody else. But most people there are very sound.
I better
right?
not see the ethics commission eating a single slice.
Yeah.
Commission come to OC, the Oregon City County Managers Association, and not have lunch because it was
Really?
absolutely.
Wow.
I brought my lunch and I'm going straight home. I'm not stopping for any whatever. So yeah, some are very tight-laced, you would say. Others are more reasonable, and it's like, well, there's the rule and then there's the interpretation of the rule, and there is some level of interpretation of the rule. And what we're seeing is a more recent, very strict interpretation of the rule that's not been pushed on elected or employees before.
And of course, there's a boundary, right? Like if at every luncheon it's catered by the best place in Portland.
Lobster and
Yeah, they're like bringing on the,
Scenarios of
screen door, somebody, yeah.
all of which would be called out immediately by the public, right? I mean,
Right.
if that hit the newspapers, it would not be popular with everybody. They
Yeah.
would have lobster and steak at every council meeting, right?
Right.
There's kind of an already checks and balances there. There's a moral code that our civilization lives by.
Yeah,
And for ethics commission to say, well, you've got to be 2 steps above that, it's kind of like, the general public is good with the city using tax dollars to pay for pizza or pay for Subway before a 4-hour-long work session and meeting. It kind of passes the sniff test, if you will, and I don't have a problem with it ethically. But yeah, if we were doing shrimp and steak and whatever every time, it'd be like, this is the
giant
best use of
catered meal.
taxpayer
Yeah.
dollars, right? But that's to say, for a special occasion or a retreat, we didn't do pizza at the retreat. We did, what did we
Eats
do?
and treats.
Maybe it was Eats and Treats or something. So maybe we spent a little bit of money for the treat. You guys were here all day long. It was like a 6-7 hour deal.
Maybe not three.
Right, yeah,
Yeah, so anyway, there's, again, it's within reason. I think, I have no qualms, I have no concerns with what the city's been doing, that we're ethical, we're above
You know, I
board.
feel good too.
Anything about, but this is, we're taking our legal counsel's advice, and that's something that we should do. So anyway, they'll get that memo drafted, it'll get in front of the council, it'll probably be next month, won't be this month, it'll be next month. We'll get it out. We're also, sorry, go ahead.
When am I gonna get access to the employer-owned hunting lodge?
Our keys came,
Well, from our plan.
Is there a boat we can use?
When I was interning at Spanish Fork, Utah, in Spanish Fork, they actually own a shooting range.
Oh, really?
They owned a swimming pool. They owned a golf course. They had, they think so in their employee handbook, you got to choose each year. Did you want a pass for the shooting range or the swimming pool or the golf course?
Oh,
You
that's
got to
cool.
choose. They were all of the same value, but as part of your official benefit package for working for the city, you got a pass of whatever value for each one of those three things. You got to choose which one. But it was official. It was in their package.
Right,
It was just like,
right.
I'm a shooting range. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was great. But it was, municipal owned shooting range, and they, made just enough money to break even
Agenda
on it.
item for next council meeting. Just throw it out there.
It's actually really pretty because like up above the city. I mean, it was in
Oh, really?
county
Oh, wow.
property. It was up
Cool.
above, kind of away. So you were shooting, you were kind of looking out over everything. It was really beautiful. It was like, that's kind of cool. Nice
Yeah.
facility. And the golf course was equally really nice, and the swimming pool was great. So that was a nice added benefit. But that was kind of like, but they also didn't do like Christmas bonuses or any of that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. That was like
It's just their,
the employee contribution.
yeah,
Like gift to the
a
employee.
literal benefit. I have a clarifying question about, do we provide training now? Like, I mean, selfishly, specifically for us, for council members?
We
And
don't,
if we don't, could we?
yeah, we don't,
The one that we have to.
yeah, we don't have it per dollar per elected official, because some can do more than others.
Okay.
We did have a conversation recently about, at what point do we determine who gets to go to the annual
Yeah, I
conference?
remember that.
Generally speaking, I encourage council members to go to as much training as they can, so far as the budget allows for it. We budget, I think, $10,000 a year, but that's kind of split between education and training opportunities for the council and educational training opportunities for the community to have like guest speakers come. It's the same pot of money for education.
So it wouldn't be unreasonable to talk about like the legal or the basics of, there was an extended one and I think it was a couple $100. It was more than just like the, don't do this because you
Go to jail.
get arrested class. It was like all right, well, I'll bring that up later, and then we would just write it in as one of the benefits of being an elected council rather than like salary for a bigger city or whatever.
Again, I think we would just generalize it as
Yeah.
training, right? Like,
Yeah.
training will be, you'll be encouraged to take advantage of training opportunities provided by League of Oregon Cities, Oregon Mayors Association, any of those. And then if there's a conference, typically the league has your guys' emails, Mayor Association has all the mayors.
Yeah, we get a bunch of,
So you'll get that. So if you're ever interested in that, just reach out. Typically staff will reach out too. Crystal will reach out, or I'll reach out and we'll ask you, hey, anybody interested? Because we'll register for you and then we use our city credit card and all that. So you
Okay.
don't have to, we don't have to reimburse you. We'll just pay out front for all of that stuff.
But
So.
small cities coming up.
And we've taken the city car, we've carpooled with the city car before, so you have to use your own vehicle if you don't have to. And if not, I've taken my truck and we've just reimbursed that way. And so we try to find ways to make it so like not everybody's driving their own car around to pay out a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And we're not staying in the nicest, fanciest hotel. It's the conference hotel that got chosen that has a discounted rate.
yeah,
So, it's all elected officials, so we're all abiding by the same ethics code, right? So
Right.
even though it might be over in Bend, you're still
Right.
not paying, you're not at the 5-star, right? You're at a nice place that's got a conference center. The meals are gonna be great, but they're not gonna be over the top. And
Yeah.
again, I think for the most part, there's a couple, maybe a couple bad apples here and there, but for the most part, I think your elected officials do a really, really good job of being pretty prudent with it.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's more the ones that like maybe don't realize like a constituent invites you to go to a baseball game and you're sitting there and they're like, this was like $150 ticket.
Yeah.
And they've been in my ear the whole time and talking about city stuff. It's like, then you're kind of, oh, shoot, right? Like I'm already here. And now I'm realizing that was a $150 ticket.
Right, you're at a Blazer game and then,
Yeah.
you're down by the bench and you're like, wait a minute, this feels a little,
So,
Yeah.
a $17 baseball game is one thing once a season, but
Right.
like season tickets, that's different. So you just, it's, I think it's more people, elected officials accidentally get themselves in situations just because they you read about it and think about it kind of ahead of time.
Yeah.
But for the most part, those antennas go up pretty quick and it's like, my constituents knew that I was doing
Yeah.
this. How would they feel
yeah,
about
could
it?
I make an announcement on Facebook that this is what I'm doing? And that should,
Yeah, I think I would go off that too. Like, I always try to frame it as like, would I be comfortable knowing that my neighbors are paying for what I'm doing right now? Or asking my neighbors to pay for what, and like having a Figaro's pizza at a 5 hour long council meeting, I'm comfortable knowing that my neighbors are paying for that.
Yeah.
But like having steak and
Especially
lobster
working
on
for
the
them.
roof,
Yeah,
like, I'm
yeah.
not comfortable asking my neighbors to pay for that. Or like, and yeah, I am comfortable going to a conference to learn how to be a better mayor and have my neighbors pay for that. But maybe not going to one in Hawaii for no reason,
Right.
Like,
When there's one in Oregon, right?
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of my, like, I totally get where the ethics regulations are coming from to, fight corruption and fight that kind of stuff. But I also think we can all agree that like having
Pretty minimal.
having a slice of lukewarm Figaro's pizza at a council meeting is not corruption. So,
Well, just a counter, if you've worked for a larger private organization,
right, Lord.
there's a little bit of a competition to see like who can put on the most lavish retreat, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
who's gonna have the biggest, best at the best location, the best whatever, and bring the family and you're splurging money because you want to attract the best talent to go to your awesome retreat. And so it is different. Private sector
Right,
is
yeah, that
definitely
makes
about,
sense.
we're going to the best resort.
Right,
And we're going to have the best food.
Right.
And we're paying for all this. Private sector, different than public sector,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Public sector, it's, we're going to a conference. It was like, ooh, we're going to a conference. It's like, well, not that kind of conference. Toledo.
Yeah.
Ooh, we love you, Toledo.
yeah. You're one of our favorite coastal.
Exactly.
Anyway,
But yeah, no, I agree with that. I know this is off topic, but just my brother works at Microsoft, and so I hear about, their corporate gatherings, and I'm like, this is different than my
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
But yeah. So do you need anything else from us? This is more just.
it's just a heads up, it's coming
Okay,
down.
okay.
I mean, if there's any specific concerns that you want addressed by Ashley in that member of the resolution, I guess, are there any questions that are answered, I guess, that aren't clear in this that we could add to?
I think it's really well outlined, and as far as I can, as far as I can see, I obviously I might not know what I don't know, but it seems really thorough, and honestly, as kind of tedious as it might be, I think in terms of transparency, then everybody will know what we're getting out of this, so to speak. I mean,
I guess
whatever.
this might be nitpicky, I'm not an attorney, but it talks about items with the city logo provided to them in their role as a covered official, such as clothing, water bottle, pens, paper. Does that mean we can't provide pens or paper that don't have the city logo on them?
We can, I think that's like fancy paper and fancy.
Okay. Oh, like gotcha. Okay.
There's like kits or
Yeah.
promotional.
Right. Okay.
Speaking of, though, I wouldn't mind like a
Or a city pen.
yeah, or hat. I like that.
Together. LOC elected.
Gotta get a logo. There's a
Yeah, we
little
do.
money for branding, but
Just saying, like I don't know.
That can be your holiday. You
Yeah.
did a good job this year.
we got mugs last year. for
I just
consumption.
use my mother.
So, no, I'd like to do more swag, City of Philoma swag as well. It's just, it's budget. And gotta be the right time and.
Yeah, I don't know that it matters, but some of that could be neutrally priced or something too, just as like available at cost. I'd buy a
Like-
a hat or something.
And this might be new. Just the same, I guess I have the same thing with like the fact that our name tags would be considered compensation. 'Cause that feels more like a duty of office, like, it's like, the fact that you have an office in City Hall considered compensation? Like, no, that's just where you're expected to work.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the same, like,
You
I
better
don't
note
consider
the
like,
placard
I don't
on your
consider this like a
desk
fun
on your
perk of being mayor. I consider it like, now I can go in public and do my job, but anyway, I just.
Depends on how high you want to put your nose.
Well, the gold plated one that you get, or the solid gold one that you get to take home does count as comp.
But I get like, that is like a question I guess I have. It's just like some of the stuff doesn't feel like compensation. It just feels
That's
like,
how you interpret it. I mean,
Okay.
does every resident in Philomath get a name tag given to them that they get to wear around that
Well,
says,
but
this
like-
is my name and I live in
They
Philomath?
also don't get a seat at the council dais. Like, is that
Right.
compensation? Like they don't get to wave the gavel around. Like that's just part of.
That's something that we not, like, my name tag, I take with me.
I guess.
To places.
Well, I guess I take the gavel.
Years.
No, you don't.
But at the end of my term.
That's a gift.
That's fair.
Fair.
Again, it's to what degree you look at
Yes.
it. It is, if you're getting it because of your elected office,
Yeah.
you're getting it, then you're getting it.
Well, and I mean, just the same way that it passes the sniff test for us this way, nobody's gonna look at it and go, geez, man, you're unfairly compensated with your name tag and bringing home your gavel at the end of serving our community for
Right.
however many years that ends up being. Like,
Keeping your name tag.
yeah, we're gonna distribute that for Christopher McMorrin Jr. Fair.
Okay.
Good. All right, thank you. That's good.
Do we feel like we've suitably covered that topic?
Yes.
That was the chair.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Oh, so that's the one problem with the digital.
There it is.
Okay. It's seeing, I believe that we've completed all of our new business. Is there, anybody got anything else off agenda that we desperately need to attend to? It's mostly you, Chris.
Is everyone coming to the ribbon cutting tonight?
Yes.
You good? Are you?
Maybe.
Ribbon cutting tonight, 6:00 at the rodeo grounds.
Oh, for the,
All the rodeo permits, all the grounds improvements.
Sprinkle's gonna be there.
Um,
Is that in order?
I'll have chairs down front for everybody, so if you show up just a little bit earlier than normal, maybe 15, 20 minutes ahead of time. I've got a seat down for you front. We've got Representative Gomberg, Representative Anna Schaefer from Scharf, I think Scharf. She's mostly, I say Lynn County, but it's
Well, now she's actually up towards like,
further north.
she has like north of Philomath
Yeah.
and towards like Yamhill and stuff. So yeah, they redistricted everything.
She's coming, and then Senator Anderson's coming as well. So those are our three heavy hitters. They're all going to speak for a little bit. The mayor's going to speak. Alyssa Collins, the Parliamentary Board President, is going to speak. And then Mike Adams, who was the coordinator for girding builders, is going to be there. And some of the other heavy batters for girding are going to be there as well, which is kind of nice. But semi-short but sweet presentation from the speakers. We're going to pose for a video. We'll have the Frolic Board, City Council. There's a Frolic and Road Association doing the fundraising stuff. All of our elected officials from the state all pose, do the photo, and then we'll have a kind of a guided tour of the announcer stand, and then circle around back to the public restrooms, and then kind of leave from there. So
And the first flush.
the mayor's going to do the official first flush.
Yes. I think it will be.
I've been waiting for that.
You're not gonna all watch me go to the.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You just go in there for,
Eventually you're here.
We had a change order, we had to put a pressure reducing valve on there because we were flushing the urinal that was splashing out of 40 water pressure.
You have to back in the shower at the same time?
You're a little sweaty and dusty.
Out of the men's bathroom, soaking wet. So anyway, we've got that reduced down, and the water stays in the urinal now.
It's good to hear.
But no, we're super excited. Everything came in good. I mean, right now we're doing a little bit of landscaping and signage and flags and stuff that will finish between now and Thursday. But a lot of that will be done for tonight. There's still some things to do over the next couple of days. But yeah, I encourage everybody to be able to come to that event. That'll be exciting. There's an all volunteer meeting that starts right at 7 at the Rotary Grounds. So I might have to zip out of the tour a little bit early because I have to MC that all volunteer meeting at 7 that everybody's at. So if you want to volunteer for the frolic this weekend, there's still time. Just come to that meeting at 7, you get registered. And most I think they need help still with just taking tickets or staffing a specific spot to check for tickets or bracelets as people are going in and out. Make sure people aren't in the right spot, aren't in the wrong spot, are in the right spot. Mostly aren't in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's tonight. I'm off and on. I'm off officially tomorrow. I've got some stuff I know I'm gonna have to do for council meeting coming up. I've got some more work I've got to get done. But then I'll be off and out Thursday and Friday all day. I'll be kind of half here tomorrow. Yeah, should be good frolic.
Yeah.
I think all of the new seats are completely sold out for Friday night already.
Really?
The new ones with backs on
Oh,
them.
yeah.
And probably over half of the bench seat on the new side sold out for Friday night. So I've been telling everybody this week, if you've been waiting to buy your tickets, don't wait much longer because I think we'll sell out.
And another note, not to interrupt, but is that the streetscape, more people that are coming we had another person called me last night. They're coming for the frolic, but they went, it's my first time in Philomath in 2 years. It looked really different. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Don't you love that people are coming and noticing?
100%.
You know, yeah, wow, it was yes, it is way different. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Bowls look great. The
Good
flower
things.
baskets are looking great. And when the flower baskets first go up, they're kind of small still.
I know.
They've been there for a month now.
They're coming together, yeah.
They're falling over, and then the frolic spent some money, put the new banners up this year, and so no, it really is impressive. The flower beds are weeded nice, the grass is cut, median stuff. So no, it's really turning out to be. The weather looks like it's going to be good, not too hot.
Can I read a comment of someone posted on a social media post I had?
Sure.
On that note. I drove through Philomath yesterday for the first time in a long time. I truly couldn't believe how beautiful it was all around me. Block party, flowers growing everywhere, new bus stops, and just so much more. I've never been happier to call a place my hometown. So,
Oh, very nice.
you know, if you ever get an angry email from someone, just go back and read that to balance.
I like the hometown one.
Yeah.
Makes me feel good, like we're doing right by the place.
Exactly.
You know, yeah, I know. I do. We hear from a whole array.
Oh, yeah.
A variety of
People
input.
especially people who've been around a long time. I mean, I think you always remember the good old days.
Yeah.
And so much associated with being younger and everything else. But, you know, it's probably the most frequent negative comment I hear is like, Philomath's really gone downhill. It's not like it was when I was a kid. You know, and it's just like, yeah, now we have things like seatbelts and bike stops, or, you know, bike lanes and
Yeah.
traffic stops. But I don't brush those off. I it's like, well, what about the good old days did you like? And typically it was the people and the businesses and their favorite place to eat or whatever. But I do hear more and more that people go through, it's like, wow, Philomath never looked so good, right? So even in the good old days, Main Street wasn't that pretty, right?
Yeah.
You might have had different businesses and your favorite fast food joint.
B&J's bacon.
Yeah. The dizzy head, but it's not the same.
That's with anybody, that's never been as beautiful as it is now. It's great.
That's really good.
Thanks to Crystal's hard work watering the flower basket.
It
I did leave a skid mark on the sidewalk, so,
That was you.
but then I tried watering it. It'll come off with water. But it wasn't me.
Nice. You doing Bernie?
Well, because I was trying to get out of traffic because I did it on the 4th of July, so there was a lot of traffic, so I was stressed. And so I was like, let me just pull. It was like, on the corners where like the curb, there's like no curb anyways. I was like, let me just pull up here. And it worked out totally fine until I drove off, and then I was like, oh my God. Because something about those tires, like you aren't skidding or anything. It's just like if you
Running River were you,
if
is
you
that
just
right?
touch the pavement, it leaves a. Anyway, we should
you
probably
pull
go.
out.
Yeah, right. Let's get ourselves adjourned. Do we need to do, I don't,